Sky News presenter Sophie took Michael Gove to task after he refused to outline how Boris Johnson is planning to react in the event of Russia deploying chemical weapons in Ukraine. The Sky News host repeatedly challenged Michael Gove to explain what plans the British government is setting out should Russia further escalate. Moscow is feared to be considering the use of chemical weapons after being met with fierce resistance from Ukrainians since the start of the invasion on February 24. But despite the persistent questioning, Mr. Gove refused to give any insight on what Boris Johnson is planning. Mr. Gove insisted he was not the right person to be asked about the weeds and details of Britain's strategy. But Sophie hit back at his comments saying, "It's not really weeds and detail. It's the reality of a chemical weapons attack." The Leveling Up secretary said, quite. "What we know is that Putin's calculation is that he would be able to, relatively quickly, capture the heart of Ukraine. That calculation has proven to be unfounded. We know that he is capable of terrible violence, but, again, I'm not a military expert and I would not want your viewers to think I'm the right person to get into a detailed discussion on chemical or other warfare." Ms. repeatedly asked Mr. Gove what the UK's response would be. "Obviously, I understand you're not a chemical weapons expert, but if chemical weapons are used, that's a war crime. How do we respond? Is that the time when we step up our actions when it comes to war in Ukraine?" The Conservative frontbencher said, "I think you're absolutely right, it would be a war crime. It was a war crime in Syria. Already Vladimir Putin has committed war crimes." The Sky host tried once more, "So if he crosses the red line and used chemical weapons, what is our response?" But Mr. Gove did not rise to the challenge. "Again, our response is something that will be agreed in concert with our allies. It's not for me. At this stage, I completely understand your desire for clarity, but it's not for me to spell out in advance NATO and our allies' response."